And you will agree with me, Your Excellency, that the only way they can assure that if they are part of the investment, if they actually own it and make sure that the O&M is followed through. Everything that has to do with training, deploying this mini-grid, ensuring that it's working. After 5-10 years that they have any issue of the battery not working, is the developer that knows what to do and what kind of battery to make sure that, to provide to make sure that the plant continues to work. So we have this blended financing, which is actually a PPP model to ensure that the finances are crystallized and working. So our target, Your Excellency, is as follows: to deploy 3,000 mini-grid into 3,000 communities, like I said, across the country, targeting into generation of 370 megawatts of clean energy. Communities to be impacted on is 3,700. Direct impact on Nigerians, over 7.4 billion homes we plan to be connected. Indirect impact on Nigeria, over 43 million Nigerians. And carbon reduction, which is really very important for us to talk about when we're talking about renewable energy. Carbon reduction of over 1.5 million tons. So each community benefit is as follows, Your Excellency. Under health, like I said before, better healthcare delivery, vaccine refrigeration. If you go to some healthcare centers today, maybe vaccine refrigeration that had been put there maybe during COVID or during one program or the other, don't have access to electricity to continue to power these vaccines. So most of them have gone bad. And that is where we come in. Not only do we put in this equipment there, but also prioritize the PHCs, in some cases up to 30 kilowatts of what we're going to provide is prioritized to the private healthcare center. Education, digital learning tools under agriculture. Most of our communities are agrarian in nature. That is why we make sure that agriculture is added and prioritized. Solar water pumps for irrigation, and like I said earlier, run cold storage facilities. Rural communities in general, why we decided to make it this like a turnkey project. Often than not, you see projects that go to either the health sector alone, or they went to the schools alone, which means when you leave the PHC and go back home, you're in darkness. I saw an ad, I think 2 days ago, a project like that, where on the streets there's solar street lights. But once they get into their homes, they're back in darkness. And that is why we added this into what we're going to do, ensuring that there will be electrification for household and SMEs. Transportation, e-mobility for better transportation, equipped with EV stations and battery swap kiosks. You ask, Your Excellency, why e-mobility? It's the only solution for the rural communities. And when we say rural, we're not talking about only last mile communities, Your Excellency. We're talking about even peri-urban. For example, Rafin Zufi community is just less than 25 minutes drive from Abuja, but they had no light. They have not had access to light for over 50 years. And we started with a small kilowatt capacity. But you go there today, it has grown, and the mini-grid has doubled in size. So when we say rural, people think, okay, maybe we're talking about last mile. Not just last mile, Your Excellency. Even peri-urban communities. Even communities where you have FMC, Federal Medical Centers. Sometimes you see that only the medical center has light, but the community in general has no light. So that is why we talk about putting not only access to light in the community itself, but e-transportation, because we all know what transportation is talking about in regards to access to having diesel or fuel regarding the one you use. Even if you have it available, how about the cost? So the only way we can even mitigate this cost and the access is to introduce e-transportation, e-mobility, and that's why we want that in there. Next slide, please. So, like the MD pointed out, we have done geospatial mapping of most communities in Nigeria, over 160,000 of them. And this is one community called Tongo Community in Funakaye local government. You can see it shows you everything, all the way to economic potentials. Your Excellency, I spoke about rural economy earlier on. This is an example of what this small community can have access to, if only they have access to electricity. You know, this research shows you population, nearest regional hub, distance to even the nearest, how many healthcare facilities are there, how many education facilities. So if we chose to energize this community, you can see that these 4 schools will have access to light, which they didn't have before. This healthcare facility will be energized, and even the community itself will have even the opportunity to buy better farming equipment because they are guaranteed to have access to light. And look at the potential of the crop yield, the total value, over $1.6 million in a community like this. Next slide. This is another community, Lembi community, same parameters, same thing. This doesn't have, well, there's no presence of healthcare facility there. That's a free information for the Excellency to probably have to give them access to one. And then you see the potential. They are sitting on economic value of over $2 million, but they are unable to tap into this because of lack of access to electricity to buy better equipment for their farming needs. So these are the things, some of the positivity that you can tap into in partnering with REA into this e-heart project. Next slide. Yeah, so that brings me to the end. The guy that is clapping can't wait for me to come down. But Your Excellency, before I come down, I will tell you that this is an opportunity for Gombe State to look into empowering its rural and peri-urban communities. Nothing can be done without access to energy. My MD spoke earlier about AI, about things that you can do, about even a new word I heard today, what is that? Petawatts. Let's stick to megawatts first. You know, so I really will be encouraged and be glad if Gombe, which your team have been very, very proactive. We have unveiled this program, by the way. We have done stakeholders and engagement when we unveiled it. We have done a second stakeholder engagement where we distributed 25 communities that we gathered from this geospatial mapping, and we gave it to the state. And I can gladly tell you that they have gone through it, they have returned it to us, they have given us your commitment on financial commitment into partnering with us in this program. They have formed their state steering committee where the Commissioner for Energy is the chairman. So your state has been proactive. It's one of the very encouraging things. So I look forward to working with you, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Thank you for that very interesting presentation. The Executive Director of Rural Electrification Fund. Your Excellency, from the ED's presentation, it's obvious that we value data and we're able to also drive a lot of critical stakeholders to the subnationals. So we can assure you, Your Excellency, that there's a lot of programs and initiatives that the state will benefit from, considering the fact that the state is now ready for a lot of strategic transactions in the clean energy ecosystem. Before we move along, just to inform the room that we are now live on NT and Arise, and we plan to optimize these platforms through the governor's, the executive governor's presentation later, as well as the MOU signing program. So quickly, I will be inviting the next presenter, Engineer Umar, the Executive Director of Technical Services, who is unavoidably absent today, but we're going to be leaving his presentation till the next presenter. Well, we have a solid representative on seat currently, so we'll be taking the presentation from the ED. So quickly, I'll be inviting Engineer Olufemi Akinyelore, the head Nigerian Electrification Program, for his presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Excellency, Executive Governor of the State, MD CEO, Rural Electrification Agency. Permit me, sir, to stand on existing protocol. Your Excellency, before I start, I will first you to know that I'm an engineer, and I like to start from some basic principles. So the MD has spoken about me earlier and has classified me as a youth. And I take that position as directed. But Your Excellency, what he's not telling you is that he gave a very elaborate explanation about AI and about how AI works. It is because he has youth in his team. In fact, in our last session with him was when we discussed the issue of petawatts and all of that. But we'll shackle him up. And with that being said, I would also apply for my own title. For Your Excellency, at the end of my presentation, I'll make a proposal. So in the spirit of baselines, Your Excellency, at the Nigerian Electrification Program, the program is funded by both the World Bank and the Africa Development Bank. And over the last 5 years or so, we've been able to deploy over 200 mini-grids across the country, over 1 million solar home systems across the country. As the MD mentioned earlier, we've deployed interconnected mini-grids in about 15 universities across the countries, 3 related teaching hospitals. And we've also focused a lot on productive use of energy, Your Excellency, because as I mentioned later on, we see this as a key catalyst for sustainability for a lot of these projects. Next slide. The basic principles here across board is, as the MD mentioned earlier on, data is at the core of everything we do. So we do not move without having that data. And we've been able to establish platforms that developers are able to access in order to plan and develop their projects in line with the model that we follow, which I would explain later on. So from the developer support that we have, to the subsidies that we use to ensure that there's a level of affordability. Your Excellency, you are aware that we speak about cost-reflective tariffs all the time and how affordable they are. We deal with the last mile, the rural communities, so we want to ensure that whatever solutions that we provide are affordable by them. And at the end, the last thing we look at is long-term sustainability, ensuring that the right technologies are put in place. The right models are also used to establish these projects on site so that we can enjoy those equipment for the lifespan of the projects, which is why we insist that any intervention that is free is not sustainable. So no matter how small, they will need to make some payments to ensure that it's sustainable over time. And that is why we always want to tie it to productive use. Because when you make someone productive, you stimulate that economy and is able to afford whatever services that you offer. Next slide. So at the core of this is what we call the results-based financing. And the way I like to describe it, Your Excellency, is that in a football match, it doesn't matter if you have all the possession. If you don't score a goal, you don't win. So if the developers do not deliver, and deliver at the quality that they have signed up for, we do not pay. So this gives a lot of quality assurance on all the projects that we implement, and it also ensures that the developers themselves have skin in the game, because they raise money from the private sector, Your Excellency, which you are very, very conversant with, to implement these projects. And then, so they hold themselves to a very high level of quality delivery. Next slide, please. So at the very base of what we do, this just illustrates in one chart for like a basic isolated mini-grid, just like the mini-grid that you witnessed the groundbreaking in Gombe State. this is a typical application process of what the developer had gone through before getting to grant signing and then raising the funds and ensuring that the project is built. This entire process, Your Excellency, might look complicated, but it's very straightforward because we have an online platform that ensures that developers are able to do this very seamlessly. Next slide, please. Next 2 slides. Next slide. So in terms of impact, over the past 5 years, we've been able to impact over 7 million Nigerians, beneficiaries across board, with over 100 megawatts deployed. And moving forward, Your Excellency, the MD spoke about the new program, which is the DARE program, which His Excellency the President had approved. And in this program, the plan is to scale up on everything, all the models that we've seen that work. Scale it up to over 17 million, 20 million Nigerians, reaching them across different projects, which I'll speak to in the next few slides. We want to ensure that we inject a minimum of 500 megawatts into our electricity space in the country. And in designing the DARE, next slide please. As I've said earlier, we've taken into consideration some key points which have to do with productive use, access to local currency financing, Your Excellency, and also ensuring that everything that we do is based on getting as much data as we require to continue to refine our models. Next slide, please. So on this shows all the different projects that we plan to implement. But one key one I'd like to highlight here is the state collaboration and the subnational interventions, which is part of the reason why we are here today. Based off of the Electricity Act, Your Excellency, we see this component as a way of ensuring that we make available a level of capacity building for all states to ensure that no one is left behind. And we have a set of criteria that states have to comply with. We have a scoring and evaluation system to ensure that everyone is able to meet those assessments. And one key assessment that the states are engaged in is their state rooftop studies, which I'm sure your team have been briefed about. And so once these studies are concluded, we evaluate the entire status of the state, and that qualifies you, Your Excellency, for an intervention in the health sector or education sector as identified from that report. So that's very key, it's a very key aspect of this collaboration. Next slide, please. In terms of our ambition for the DAREs, as I spoke earlier on, our ambition is to ensure that we work with the developers to improve their corporate governance, to ensure that they can raise the right amount of funding to execute the projects at the scale that we require. Next slide, please. Key barriers that I would like to highlight here is things like the regulatory environment. So one key thing about the Electricity Act is that it allows the states control over the electricity market. Before now, we had one mini-grid regulation, for example, Your Excellency, but with this, we foresee, imagine having 36 mini-grid regulations with different costs attached to it. This would literally mean chaos in the ecosystem. So we want to try and guide the states to see how we can ensure that all the successes we've made, we don't now receive with these new opportunities that exist. Access to land is also very critical, Your Excellency, because the state is the closest to the people on ground. And without access to land, it is impossible to implement this project. So the ease of doing business within the state is very key to ensuring that we get this done. We're also looking into interconnected mini-grids more now, Your Excellency, because we see this as a bridge between the grid and off-grid, ensuring that we are able to retrofit even the substations at the grid level. The MD mentioned earlier on that there are some communities that it doesn't even make any sense for the discos to extend to. Build that from ground up and ensure that no one is left behind within those franchise areas. Next slide. So I'll just speak to a few interventions that are ongoing in Gombe State at the moment in the healthcare sector. We have 50 kilowatt systems. I mean, this is one project that I did mention earlier that we achieved in the last few years. We had 100 installations, 150 kilowatts installations in healthcare centers across the entire country. And out of that, we had 3 installations in Gombe State, at the Specialist Hospital, Gombe State, General Hospital, Kafugo, Gombe State, General Hospital, Bajoga, Gombe State. And these are all working and operational at the moment. One project that the MD was alluding.
So this is like a repetition of what was in the previous slide. Financial, cultural fit and local adaptation. We are ready to also speak to ensure that this is also implemented. Next slide, please. Okay, the second part of my presentation deals with energy transition and sustainability. Let me not go into that global outlook because that global outlook looks foreign. Let me quickly tell you that a couple of months ago, about 11,000 Indians came into this country. They didn't force themselves into this country. They came with their school drivers. They came with their softwares and skills. They were employed by Dangote refineries. 11,000 people, Indians. The reason why Dangote had to employ 11,000 Indians into the country is because we lack the required skills to be able to operate a refinery. We are between the 10th to the 20th largest oil crude producing country in the world. We produce about 1.7 million barrels of oil in this country, but we still lack the required skill to be able to maintain a refinery in a country like Nigeria. Recently, a review was carried out by IRENA, International Renewable Energy Agency. They found out that about how many million of jobs was created in about 16.2 million jobs was created in the last few years in the renewable energy space. China took about 46% of those jobs. With an investment of about $2 billion US, Nigeria only took a paltry 76,000 jobs. It is not because those jobs are not readily available. It is because we lack the required skills to be able to take up those jobs. At REA, what we have done is that for all our EEP projects, that's Energizing Education projects, when we build the infrastructure in the universities, we also build a world-class training center. And we take 20 STEM students in each of those training centers. And we did not stop there. We now realize that we can actually do more. So we are now training 100 students per institution that we build this infrastructure to ensure that those students will be able to manage those infrastructure, number one. Secondly, they can then decide to move away from their current studies or whatever they have studied and move into the renewable energy space. As Nigeria is investing over $2 billion into renewable energy space, we must be creating more jobs. And here today we have a lot of RESCOs, renewable energy service companies. I would implore you, Your Excellency, to find a way to start an apprenticeship program with these renewable energy service companies to build training centers where we can train, where youth can be trained on renewable energy and they can be gainfully employed. Currently in Gombe State, we have unemployment rate at about 11.2%, of which youth is about 7.2%. This is an opportunity for us to leverage creating and bridging the energy access gap, leverage the opportunity to create job opportunities for our youth and for Nigerians across board. There are a lot of jobs that can be learned in this regard. You can have solar engineers, you can have project developers, installation technicians, and others. So this is an opportunity for us not just to build this infrastructure, but to use this infrastructure that we are building to also ensure that we create job opportunities by developing capacities and creating the required skills for them to be able to operate in this renewable energy space. Before I leave the podium, sir, I would have asked for my own chieftaincy title, but I've already been given one. I'm the Galkwan Matasa Arewa, so I don't need any other one. Thank you. Galkwan.
Thank you so much, EDCS. So at this point, I would like to call on the representative to the Executive Director of Technical Services, in person of the Director of Projects, Engineer Magaji, for his presentation.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Gombe State, Mohamed Yunwa, the MD of REA, our elder brother, Abba Aliyu, the Executive Directors, and all the dignitaries present. Please permit me to stand on existing protocol. Personally, I'm happy, to be here today. My Executive Director is unavoidably absent. And it happens to be that it is when the turn of Gombe State government that I will be here to represent him. I've been an admirer of His Excellency, Gombe State Governor. Actually, I've been following what is happening in Gombe State. I'm from Kano State. The best title for Mr. Project goes to His Excellency. Thank you, sir. The person, Mr. Dollars, have spoken in the person of the head PMU. I'm Mr. Naira because I deal with projects in Naira. Please, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, the Technical Services Department handles projects that are funded from the federal government. That is why I say we deal with Naira projects. We do many projects such as mini grids, solar home systems. These are projects that are funded from federal government appropriated capital projects, National Assembly zonal intervention. And data acquisition system. Please, next slide. These are some of the projects we have implemented in Gombe State from 2021 to date. In terms of grid extension projects, we have done over 20 with over 10 MBA capacity. We have done 6 mini grid projects targeting targeting households and primary health care centers. We have done 1,038 number solar home systems. We have done 2,400 solar street lights and 65 solar-powered irrigation pumps in rural areas. Next slide, please. The technical services department, we are custodians of the technical standards in the agency, and we have standards that cover all the aspects of the projects we do in REA, from the grid extension to solar home systems to electrical vehicle systems. Your Excellency, all the projects we do in Abuja or Ibadan, all standards were the state is blessed with abundance of solar irradiation and will fit in, or is already fitting into solar mini-grid projects. The wind also, there's availability of wind, and of course the hydro power. Already there's a project, as mentioned earlier, in conjunction with NIDO, GAF, that is currently developing a 630 kilowatt peak hybrid solar and 320 kilowatt peak hydro power. And hydro power of 300 kilowatt peak mini grid in Balanga in Gombe State. I think my MD was there earlier. Please, next slide. So Gombe State is endowed with relevant natural resources. The developers here and some of people that are here that are manufacturers, of course there are a lot of mineral resources that can be used to develop renewable energy products and equipment. So if I'm not mistaken, the Gombe State is also known as a jewel state. So please, there are abundance of solid minerals for those manufacturers, that you can explore in Gombe State for development of renewable energy equipment. Next slide, please. So in areas of collaboration, like I said, the title of Mr. Project Pete, the Governor of MES, is Your Excellency. We are ready to collaborate with you in developing in joint project development by identifying priority project sites and providing technical expertise. We can also align with the technical standards that we have and global best practices. We can also collaborate in capacity building by facilitating programs for government and local operators. Of course, the next steps are for us to compound the priority sites for mini-grid development, engage directors, RESCOs, and finalize incentives. Next slide, please. So, like I said earlier, REA is actually blessed with an MD, that is very focused, that wants to provide electricity in the whole country. One village, one community at a time. So with this drive, we are hoping that in the nearest future, the slogan of Up NEPA will be a thing of the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director of Projects REA, for your presentation. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Gombe State, sir. The next presenter will be doing a deep dive into the data sets, the energy access data sets in Gombe State. And that will be the last presentation from our end of the REA before we move to the state's end. So I'll be inviting Mohammed Jibril for his presentation and showcase.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, MD. I think I would want to reintroduce myself here today. I was called Mohammed Jibril, but His Excellency would know me better as Mohammed Jibril Dukku. I think His Excellency would allude that I'm his brother here. He went to school with my late older brother, Ahmed, and he's told me that on several occasions. It is an honor. MD mentioned that we've done this more than 20 times. As MD is counting down to how many states we have left, I was counting down to when we were going to do Gombe. And every time the MD and the EDs stand here and they talk about chieftaincy titles and indigenship, I was waiting for a day I would show off and say that I have an edge over everybody here today. So it's an honor to be here to address you, Excellency, and the government and people of Gombe. It is also a privilege to welcome esteemed fathers and uncles and brothers sitting here with us, the Waziri in Gombe, the Tafarik in Gombe, former Minister of Power, and all other dignitaries here. When MD spoke about data, he spoke about what we have invested in trying to understand the energy landscape, from mapping communities to mapping distribution lines, and also showcasing the myriad of developers that are sitting behind us today, everybody looking for an opportunity to be part of Gombe's success story. What I do here is to do a deep dive into showing you the sources of this data that we have and what it means to us. This source of data would mean something for the REA. Obviously, we have grants to share, we have impact to record. Gombe State has its priorities of developing the state, economic development, social interventions. For the developers behind us as well, they're looking for opportunities to give their quota, but also to make a handsome amount of money from it. One of such tools, Your Excellency, is called VIDA, a tool that we developed with our partners to map the entirety of Nigeria, from the largest community, which is Lagos, that has the highest number of households. MD said about 1 million. We have about 2.6 million houses that are recorded within the tool. From Lagos down to communities that are as low as 10 or 5 houses. What VIDA helps us to understand is to narrow down to each community, understand the size of each community, understand the sizes of the households. Looking at the rooftop, we can say this is an average household or a large household, and this is how much we think it would consume. And by that, without even going to that community, we would be able to predict how much energy that comes to us, that this community has 200 houses, and with these 200 houses, we can be able to plan better and know how much we can spend to put electricity there without bothering the state coffers, without asking for a kobo from the state. We can also understand if a community is far away from the grid, we would know which technology to apply. MD spoke about the different interventions, the solar home systems for some certain communities, the mini grid, the grid extension, all from their distance from the grid, or how compressed they are, or how sparsely populated they are. This mapping tool helps us to do that. By means of demonstration, Your Excellency, this may be sparse, it might be a bit blurry from the back, but there are red and blue and purple dots, all indicating different kinds of communities and how we rate them or how we categorize them based on the grant that we give them or how we place them as either off-grid or on the grid and so on. It's a bit technical, Your Excellency, so pardon me. If we look at Lagos, for example, at the top of the left side, it shows 2.686 buildings, and you go down and you have Ibadan, we have Abuja, and so on. But our interest today is Gombe, and we're able to filter this from the tool that we have, and then see how many of this about 154,000 communities that we've been able to map. About 3,570 are in Gombe, and if you look at this on the left, you'd see that only Gombe State has been highlighted, isolating the rest of the map, which means we are focusing on Gombe alone. From this, we'll be able to understand which ones are on the grid, which ones are not, and we can further filter it and say, if we want communities that are maybe 3 kilometers away from the national grid, we'll be able to take out the ones that are served by the national grid, for example, at this very moment. That would further reduce it from 3,500 or so to 1,900 communities. We can still filter it and say, where are places where in the night our satellites would see that it's dark. That also helps us in understanding either that community is not connected to the grid or they are not properly served. Because in the night, communities would be seen to be glowing from the satellite view. If we say no light at night, it shows us communities that are off-grid or communities that are not properly served. Your Excellency, I can just take the Gelengu that MD showed earlier, and if it will zoom into Gelengu, this is a bit slow, but it would zoom into Gelengu and show us the different kind of rooftops. The purple rooftops there shows small buildings. We have the blue buildings, which are medium houses, and we have green buildings that are large. You can see from the squares, some of them are larger than some. A small typical household in a rural community consumes just about 0.4 kilowatt, but we know that a larger building would consume even more, and that's how we used to say, okay, MD said 1.2 megawatt earlier for a certain community, but that's how we are able to say it. The data that we have is really unique. We can know the number of households for all of them, for all of the communities. And from there, we can say, if this community is fetching $500 per connection for each community, we can immediately say that for powering Gelengu, we know that a developer that is successful in bidding and winning this community would be given this grant. But the head of the NEP said you have to score a goal before you're given this. So you have to get your investment, you have to put up a really good infrastructure, you have to check all our quality indexes, and then we will give you the grant. But we already know what to keep for Gelengu. We would know how to keep for the entirety of the off-grid communities in Gombe, provided that the developers are interested and the government of Gombe is also willing to support them. We have other indicators like this is 0 kilometers from the grid, which means it's actually within the grid area, but utterly underserved. We have about 10 health facilities. We have 10 educational facilities and 2 health facilities. We can give you the technical information around the size of the mini grid that would be able to power them. We can give you some indexes around conflicts that had happened within 50 kilometers, which might even venture into neighboring states. We also have agricultural indicators. All of these are to support and make these systems viable. Your Excellency, before I go, the MD usually make a commitment that we should make this as relatable as possible for our guests. He mentioned that we can zoom into the Honorable Commissioner's house. I think we can do one better. This is Gombe as it is today. It would zoom in today, but you can see all of these white and black dots are schools. The red ones are hospitals. we're able to put schools and hospitals because we see them as anchor loads. If a house is going to consume 0.4 kilowatt, we're assuming that a hospital that has some cold storage, a facility for vaccines, some radiography machines and so on would consume even higher. This would show that if a developer is going, he wouldn't want to just give lights and fans. He would want to serve some productive loads, and these are productive loads. If we zoom into Gombe, for example, Your Excellency, this red dot here is Gombe Specialist Hospital. And we know what is across the road from Gombe Specialist Hospital, Your Excellency. This particular area here is just by the gate of Specialist Hospital here. You can see different kind of colors of rooftops, the large ones, the blue ones, the purple ones, all within this area. This is a place the governor would be really be able to relate with. But this is how deep we can go into identifying such data. From here, I can tell you that the pink rooftops, I know it's the same building, one building, the entire quadrant there is the building. We can say that based on the purple rooftops, we know how much each one of them would consume. And if we put up this profile, we know that this particular isolated area would have a particular energy signature that we can. But we can zoom into the entirety of Gombe and tell you how much it needs, including the hospitals and the educational facilities and so on. Your Excellency, once again, thank you for the opportunity to have me, and we look forward to partnering with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed Jibril Duku. I think we need to get you a security detail to follow you around because of this information you have in your possession. It further shows you the value, the critical value of data, to the energy access interventions across the country. Your Excellency, sir, I will now be calling on Farouk Ibrahim Daudu, the Executive Secretary, Gombe State Investment Promotion Agency, for his presentation.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. I think Gombe has the room now. Good afternoon, MD and his team, distinguished guests, honorable commissioners here present. I would say, Your Excellency, if you would permit me, I would like to say a very good afternoon to Tafarakin Gombe, who serves here as my father, as well as the Honorable Commissioner representing Gombe, Adamawa, and Taraba. Yes, it's a bit difficult to mention his name in public. So today I am here to make a presentation to you on the opportunities that Gombe presents. I can see the REA has done a very massive job already in marketing us, and I can see everyone is trying to claim Gombe as a house, the whole team. So Gombe is always open, and you're welcome. His Excellency has done a very big, massive job. I am standing here today because of him, because of the opportunities he has created for us, and the chance he has given for us to showcase Gombe more to the global world. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Of course, Gombe is situated the northeast of Nigeria, and you know it shares its borders with all the other 5 states, which makes us a power hub. Of course, we have a population of about 4.2 million persons, and it is an agrarian state. We are endowed with natural resources, and of course, the economy is driven by agribusiness, mineral mining, and industrial clusters. Next slide, please. Less than 64% of the population, mostly rural, have access to electricity, hence the overdependence on kerosene, firewood, and mostly fossil fuel. Gombe currently receives about 120 megawatts. But of course, what we need is between 400 to 500 megawatts, and of course, which may exceed to the 700 megawatts mark you're seeing. Of course, with the springing up of His Excellency's key project, the Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park. I am sure MD, you have visited it, and you have seen quite the massive infrastructure that has been put in place. Most of our industries operate with about less than 45%, and of course the unreliability of electricity supplies, public utilities, particularly hospitals and schools, which I can see my brother, Engineer Bello, has been able to do a proper mapping for it. The centrality for Gombe makes it a natural state for a commercial center, of course, in the whole of the Northeast. Of course, we are just a young state. We come up in 1996, but we can say we can compete with the high powers in Nigeria, which has been a bottleneck for us since we have been ranked as the #1 state in the ease of doing business for twice in a row, actually. Yeah, so that's it. Of course, we have a solar irradiation of over 2,100 kilowatts hour per square meter every year, and which gives us an ideal position for solar power, of course, which the agency is currently working on. Next slide, please. So what are the energy potentials in Gombe State? We can always say that we are proud to say that in terms of hydro, we have the Dadinkowa Dam, which generates over 40 megawatts, and which of course is connected to the national grid. We also have the Balanga Dam, as well as the Cham Dam. Of course, we can tell you that the Balanga Dam, which was earlier said by the MD, of course, of the project and the increment of power with 300, which will give us about 600 megawatts of power in the coming days. Sorry, kilowatts here, sorry. Of course, we also are going to talk about gas and hydrocarbon. We can say that the coal money has given us a mark in Nigeria, and especially in the energy sector. Of course, the Kolmani River reserves potential source of gas to power plants and hybrid solar plants. We also have coal, which is due to the large deposit of coal at Maiganga and other locations within the state. Coal will also provide us with other sources of power generation for both domestic and industrial use. Now, biomass and waste to energy. It is estimated that annually over 390,000 metric tons of residual waste from plants and animals are available for energy generation within incineration across Gombe State, which could generate around 232,160 kilowatt hour per day from large amount of municipal solid waste. We are also going to talk about wind. If you can go on to the next slide, please. Wind, we have an average of about 12 kilometers per hour, which is only ideal for, of course, small rural turbine. I am sure we have partners here who have come to Gombe and who have been trying to engage us in seeing that they actually have a turbine which they located an ideal location for it. I am certain that that partner should also be in this room to engage us more during the conversation going forward. Our strategic pillars. We are talking about generation diversification, of course, the Dadinkowa, the mini grids. We are also going to talk about transmission and distribution, which is investment in the transmission and distribution through injection substation. Here I would like to commend my brother from the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, Engineer Bello Babayo, who has also graciously engaged Gombe State in that aspect. Thank you, Engineer, and of course, thank you to the Niger Delta Power Holding Company. We have off-grid and rural electrification. We have energy efficiency and demand side management. On to the next one, please. We also have financing and investment collaboration between government and private sector. I would tell you gladly that I have never seen a political will to do the right thing for the people. His Excellency would always say, what are we doing for the people? What are we doing for the people? What are we doing for the people? Because at the end of the day, by the end of his tenure, he said, I will not be here. Therefore, what will the people judge me for? Your Excellency, thank you for your position and thank you for your stance for the people of Gombe State. Of course, regulatory and institutional reform. Like I said, that is why I'm here. The Gombe State Investment Promotion Agency came on board because of His Excellency's vision to see that we provide you with the enabling environment and of course, see that you have a one-stop center whereby you can engage us and have a seamless coordination between all interagencies across the state. Of course, empowerment of women and youth, ensure social inclusion and gender through digital skill acquisition. My ED here made mention of the gap that we have. We have abundant number of youths in Gombe, which basically makes about 65% of the population. And of course, we know the importance of these numbers, and that is why we're trying to close the gap by always having the human capital development sector of it being worked on. So thank you for that also, and Gombe State is working actively to see that its youth are always engaged. So our implementation roadmap, we have a short term, which of course from 2021 to 2025, the establishment of the regulatory institution and 100 megawatt capacity, of course 30 mini grids, deployment of solar to 25 primary health cares and 25 schools, stakeholder and community engagement, training and policy, which has been ongoing and is still ongoing. The medium term is the 2026 to 2027, which is to increase generation by about 300 megawatts and deployment of 100 mini grids to all reserve communities. And our long-term goal is to connect 436,000 households and 1,500 villages to electricity. Our expected outcome is always improve investment climate and industrialization, which part of what we are doing currently at the moment is to see that the Gombe State industrial policy has spring on board by the first quarter of 2026. Of course, also to improve reliability, cost reduction in price of power, job and economic empowerment. Investment climate and partnership. Gombe has consecutively maintained, as I've mentioned earlier, the #1 state on the ease of doing business. We have access to multilateral funding, of course, which includes also the REA, also strong insurance backing and political risk covering through partnership with development finance institution and increased budget allocation in 2026 to accommodate renewable programs. I think in conclusion, I would like to state to you that our Gombe State has made giant strides in infrastructure. I can tell you that the governor has made a project called the 11100, which is to have a 100-kilometer road across all the 11 local governments. And I can confidently tell you, without going to the books, that over 9,000 of that road has been constructed. I'm sorry if I missed the number, Your Excellency, but I'm sure I'm on the right track. And before the end of the tenure, that would be done. You spoke about security, MD, earlier. Well, we always have the issue of calling Gombe a red state. But I will assure you that Gombe has maintained that position of being 1 to 5 in Nigeria for the past 5 years. And we are assuring you that security of your investment is safe and it's sound. We will assure you that being in Gombe and coming to Gombe will always give you something to talk about in terms of infrastructure, in terms of human capital development. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that very incisive submissions, the Executive Secretary, Gombe State Investment Promotion Agency. Ladies and gentlemen, and members of the Fourth Estate in the room. Join me as I welcome His Excellency Muhammad Inuwa Yahya Gidan Majin Gombe, CON, and of course the Chairman, Northern States Governors Forum, for his remarks.
Sit down. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على نبي الكريم. Honorable Commissioners and other members of the Gombe State Executive Council, advisors and principal stakeholders. The MD, Rural Electrification Agency, the digital MD, performing MD, and for sure, the indefatigable MD of the REA, plus your able management. Because, of course, capacity in capital. Senior stakeholders from Gombe and the investors that are here with us, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of us. Let me say that I'm indeed highly excited to be here today, and with the presentations taken, particularly the one by the MD, followed by the EDs, and other top executives of the REA, showed that he's fully in grip of all the affairs. And they even know Gombe maybe better than my own self, I don't know. But I'm for sure going to say that working with you has really broadened our mind and has made us really see the need for us to have synergy, that cooperation that is required in order to catapult this nation. And all that happened because of the political will, particularly by Mr. President himself and the renewed hope agenda, who signed the Electricity Act that triggered all these reforms and changes that are happening in the sector. So we thank God for that. And I must warn that if I don't have the grip of everything, you must pardon me, because I have to be jack of all trades anyway. But nonetheless, I want to thank you for the opportunity. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to address you today at this important round table convened by Gombe State Government in collaboration with the Rural Electrification Agency. Your presence reflects a shared commitment to unlock the vast renewable energy potentials of Gombe State and accelerate inclusive development powered by reliable, affordable, and sustainable electricity. Gombe State is just as the most peaceful state in the northeast sub-region, and indeed in the entire country. Only recently, I was at a function and the NSA woke up to congratulate me for Gombe being #1 in terms of the security situation of the country. And I believe he has no reason to flatter me, and he's somebody that is also trying and doing his best, trying to improve on the security situation of the country, knowing fully well that without security, nothing thrives. And alhamdulillah, we've reached the edge of the curve, and now things are getting better, even in the northeast sub-region. Somebody was mentioning we may be on the rate, yes. But it had been for something that had been taking place for the past 10 years or so. So when recently I saw a travel advisory of, I think it's the UK or which country now advising its citizens not to go to the northeast entirely, I said no. It shouldn't be all together. Even where there are issues, now the issues have reduced significantly. In Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa State. But we happen to be in the center of the northeast. We share boundary, as mentioned by one of the previous speakers, with all the remaining 5 states. And we all were in the northeast as one state. And that even happened when we were all together in northern Nigeria. So a long-standing history cannot be eroded one day. And whatever happens in either Yobe, Borno, or Adamawa, or Taraba, because of the nature of our relationships, can pass overnight and get to Gombe. So all we need to do is to synergize, work together, and address the issues. And that is what we are doing now. So I believe we are on course. We are well positioned to drive Nigeria's clean energy transition because of the details already mentioned by your own selves and what Gombe state government is doing at the moment. And what we require is a coordinated investment, technology, and innovative partnerships, which is precisely the essence of today's engagement. And I can see, at least from the faces of the people that are here, that we are really getting it right, and we shall soon get to the required destination by God's grace. Our administration has prioritized energy as a cornerstone of economic transformation, and this is demonstrated in the provision of solar street lights. By 2020, Gombe embarked on putting solar street lights all across because we realized the unsustainability and the poor outcomes we received from, especially our street lights being powered by generators and cables and so on. And as at today, I make bold to say that out of the first 176 kilometers that we did within Gombe Metropolitan alone, you can't go and see any not functioning, except the ones that were knocked down either by vehicles which had not been replaced. Which means the approach or the result is sustainable and can be, if we can sustain it and continue it, we can get to all the places. And that is the spirit in which we now approach all our local governments and major towns within the state, especially for street lighting. And you can see my friend here, my brother, we've been talking all along with him. And now with today, I believe he will be bolstered enough to go even eyes closed to put in his money in Gombe. Revitalization of solar-powered primary health care facilities and schools across the local government has also been achieved. We prioritize especially the primary health care centers. We happen to have worked through the state health improvement project, and when we realized that that was only covering some few local governments, we upscaled and ensured that we delivered on, at the first instance, 114 primary health care centers. But later, we upscaled to 2. Now I can boast of 2 primary health care centers per ward, which is a total of 228 in Gombe State that has every facility you can talk of. So I'm amazed that mention is made of which community? Is it? Lembi. Lembi is a ward. And there are 2 functional primary health care centers. Send anybody to go and verify. I can boast of that. Through reforms, clear policies, and strategic investments, we are rated to be the first state in PEBEC, which is a Presidential Enabling Business Reforms Council. Is of this business ranking in the years 2021 and 2022. I'm not bragging, I'm not boasting, but even if the later years are released, I believe we'll be among the top 1 to 3. If we cannot pass 3, for sure. That means we are together, we are working together. Our ability to achieve is what making these results to work for us. the recent result of the PVC on stage performance. In the last year, 2024, Gombe was number 1. This year, we were despite changing the parameters, we were number 3. I'm able to say that any ranking you release, as far as Nigeria is concerned today, you cannot take Gombe away from the 10. The first 10 for sure, you cannot. On the table of allocation and federation account, we are always second to the last, or the last, with HT. We are competing with HT State only. But that has changed. Back home, at least we've established prudence. I'm an accountant, a bloody one for that matter. So I ensure I supervise and ensure that we get value for our money. And we work towards achieving, an environment that is free and available for everybody to come and partake. Because they believe that it's only the private sector that can steer, the economy and trigger, economic activity and facilitate people to be. We can't rely 100% on jobs by government and expect that Nigeria is what we'll continue to do. So, despite coming late to this round table, number 20, I believe you found us already working, trying to achieve what we are trying to achieve here. So it's only for us to join the way. Coming from the top and you coming from the down, I will meet in the center. And I guarantee you that Gombe is really ready and Gombe is really up and doing. We can do, but we can do better. That I agree, and that is what you, the MD, is trying to encourage us to do. We leverage on the Electricity Act 2023. I mentioned earlier the President committed and also dedicated in delivering service to people, signed off. And with that, we saw opportunity and also enacted the Gombe State Electricity Law, which we signed 2025, and which empowers us to generate, transmit, distribute, and establish the Gombe State electricity market. So what you are advising us to do has already been done. And we're also working towards establishing the Regulatory Commission. First week, inshallah, of January, the whole board will be on course and they will start operating. So investors will have no problem because the cost is clear and the government is focused on ensuring that there is synergy and there is good working relationships that will enable you to have your number one concern and focus covered. Because for any investor, return on investment is key, is number one. And that we assure you and ensure that we'll do. In order to sustain the ongoing efforts aimed at strengthening distribution, metering, and off-grid systems, we'll ensure that all the ecosystem is working round the clock to make things work, and we give that guarantee that investors will really cover and make profits out of their own investment. We recognize the pivotal role of the Rural Electrification Agency in bringing power to unserved and underserved communities. Through mini-grids, solar home systems, productive use infrastructure, and clean energy clusters, REA continues to expand access in ways that transform livelihoods, empower small businesses, and strengthen schools, and improve healthcare delivery. You've said it all with data, and nobody can fault or doubt you in this because you have gotten it right up initial. With the data, you really get to the correct place and give service, and you've done it. So we're there to support you to ensure that that data that you generated will not be put to waste. We utilize it, even if it is ex gratia, we'll work with it. To Today's discussions must go beyond identifying potentials. We must translate potentials into bankable projects that will create local jobs, stimulate industrial growth, and provide stable power to our people. That is our key, that is our focus, and the team is here. So beyond even this round table, as we move out, the Attorney General is here. He can sign off. I've given him the leverage. The Commissioner of Finance is here. Commissioner for Energy is here. The ES of the State Investment Promotion Agency. Everybody is here. So whatever you need is approved. Approved. In November, that is early last month, a memorandum of understanding for the deployment of 1 megawatt, MD has mentioned, mini-grid at Talase in Balanga LJ was signed under a public-private partnership. I underline that because he said it's a Gombe model. And we had to take the bullet and start something. And for sure, when we synergize between the state, the local government, investors, and the REA, we can achieve a lot. We cover a longer distance than we are doing now. So we're open to that. We shall dialogue, just like we did that. And you are even saying that some governors are copying. I would like to say that like we are taking your data, we'll also give them service as gracias. So let them come for consultancy, and we'll do it. The historic event was witnessed by the MD himself and most of the management staff here, and very soon similar projects will be plugged off. I've guaranteed the total commitment of Gombe State in that regard. So for all investors that are interested, who are ready to join hands together, we put in our token so that you will be convinced that will give that cover that is required, and there is commitment. And for sure, all our communities are ready and willing. When you mentioned of Garumbako, Maljango, who is a key stakeholder from Kaltogo, is here. When you mentioned Lembi, somebody from Lembi is here, and they know it. And you mentioned of places like Duku, Mohamed Duku is here. So it's an all-inclusive affair that everybody is up and trying to achieve one goal, which is to uplift, life and give service to our people. Our vision is to clearly take Gombe State to achieve the targets that we set out for ourselves in 2020, so that we have a clear way, a pathway that we follow and go with data. We commissioned a very robust team to set up our economic plan, an agenda which we call the development agenda for Gombe State. It's tied to 5 pillars, all aligned to the sustainable development goals. And for sure, we've gone a long way. The House of Assembly has already adopted it, so it's like a law. I'm on my way out. By 2027 May, I should be out of office because I'm a second-term governor. But for sure, that document is handy and has been approved by the House of Assembly. It's like law. So it continues until after 2030, and then it will be now left to the succeeding government to also plan ahead and move forward. But the idea is when you have some 10-year thing, you'll implement a very good chunk of it. And whoever comes will also do another. If it continues in a sequence of 8, at least what will be missing is only the 2 years that somebody has to breach and ensure that he enforces. So that is where Gombe is and where Gombe is going. And our aim is to have a Gombe State where every home, school, health facility, and enterprise has access to clean, reliable, affordable energy aimed at driving productivity, because productivity is the key. In any economy that experiences recession, government triggers, activity in heavy investment in infrastructure, so that along the line, people will key in and reap the benefit of it and ensure that it is sustained so that the economy will expand and get out of recession and create opportunities. And prosperity will spread to the people. But somehow, there is some, disalignment because it seems some disconnect has happened between people and government, whether due to politics or due to some mischief, which we are yet to clear. But we must achieve that. We must. If we have to change things, we must all work together along the same path with the same focus and determination to change the things and make things work. And that we can achieve. It's possible because we are Nigerians. Majority of us. Somebody mentioned Babangida days when they were not even there, they don't know. Babangida is still alive. But what he did, so what we do now, we may live to see it in the next 30, 40 years. And until we do the correct thing, we never get it right. So we need to have that connect. REA, states, local governments, we must think alike, act alike, and move together. And what we've failed to do over time is that we've forgotten that Nigeria is big. That huge population is another advantage. It's an advantage. By 2050, we'll be around number 3 or so. By the close of the century, people are projecting that we are getting to be number 1 in the world. But mind you, the land mass has not changed. In fact, it has reduced. So is productivity within the confines of what we have in terms of land or water resources or energy that God has endowed with us that we use to see that all those numbers, are accommodated and they are doing well. We must do well. And that is a task for all of us. For this government, I know for sure we'll see to the full implementation of the development agenda for Gombe State. And for that to drive well, energy is the number 1. And we must give you that support that you need to ensure that we propel Gombe to the next level. And I guarantee you that we are going to do. So I call on public sector institutions, development partners, financiers, investors, and all have them here. The Waziri of Gombe is here. Sarkin Tafarchin Gombe is here. Baradan Kaltungo is here. So many more. And whoever wants a title. For your information, Gombe has 15 emirates and chiefdoms, 15 in number, and 11 local governments. So all you have been talking about is only in Balanga local government, which is Wada. And in Balanga itself, we have 3 chiefdoms. So we have many to give to you. And we welcome you all. We'll accommodate you. And we are ready to partner with you to ensure that we take Gombe to the next steps, and Nigeria at large. If all the states join together and work hard, we can easily, with the support of the federal government, which is key, because that is number 1. For us to have this, it must have gone through the World Bank with the Ministry of Finance must have given several guarantee of recovering that money. Billions that you are talking about. So also the investors, in any way, they must have security for their investment. If we don't work hard and we don't ensure safety and security of investment, nobody will come to Nigeria. And we need it badly this time around. So I want us all to work together. For investors, be confident. Maybe because I'm one of you, Alhaji Karemi can testify to that. But for sure, there are opportunities in Nigeria. We must harness those opportunities and ensure that, we change the tides and everybody benefits. We cannot operate alone because as we are, even if we are prosperous, and an island of prosperity surrounded by an ocean of poverty, disease, and hunger will not work. And power supply is virtually the key. So if we do the needful, things will change. I was telling MD of the oil deposits in Gombe, oil and gas. And Nigeria has the potential, particularly gas, which is cleaner, but we have not utilized. We are, instead of utilizing, we are busy burning it off. And flaring gas causes environmental, pollution and affects lives. So it's the only option for us to ensure that we align, we change. Coal in Gombe, for example, has been there ever since God created the world. Ashaka has been in Gombe for 46 years. It has never made a loss in 46 years. But instead of it to improve capacity, it did not. And to provide its own source, it did not. Relying on the grid. And how much does Nigeria generate? We've either misinvested, underinvested, or we are not even ready, to invest properly. That is what we are doing now, trying to make sure that all those missing gaps are covered. And we change the ties. It's possible, MD. And you and your team. And I'm convinced with the robust, presentations made, everybody seems to have the grip of what he's doing and what he is supposed to do in the REA. So congratulations. So thank you all. And we are ready to align with you. Thank you so very much. And let us make this roundtable a turning point. I make my pledge, you make yours, and so also the investors. Let us change. Let us make it a turning point, one that lights up our communities, powers industries, and delivers sustainable prosperity. Sustainable prosperity. Because for one reason or the other, I can say that we got to know enjoyment even ahead of. We pushed the cart before the horse. We didn't work hard enough, to earn the comfort that we got earlier on. Now we must cover that gap. And it takes all to do that, because it takes all to go together. So I want us, everybody, join hands with us, with the REA, with the presidency, because with the courageous and bold decisions of the president, things can be done. Subsidy withdrawal, for example. All along for 42 years or so, it had been on and on, even after open committees had documented that it goes. But as at the point the president decided that subsidy had to go, provision was made only up to May, ending or June in 2023. That would have been only 1 month into being in office. And there was no House of Representatives or Senate, the National Assembly, to sanction or approve. And we couldn't have gone. And for sure, there were issues even with creditors outside. And how could you go and borrow in order to come and burn off? It's just like lighting cigarette, you burn your money. The smoke will go, and at the end of it, if it is a borrowed money, you must have to pay it. That was what happened. A decision had to be made. And we must pay for all those times that we lost. And for us to catch up with the rest of the world, it means we must move in double locks. Because we have to cover the lost ground and move fast ahead to catch up. So, and that is where we are today. We thank God, the revenue has increased, states are doing better, and that is why somebody will say that Gombe is like, if you call me performing state, call the president or performing president, because he facilitated. So thank you very much for the opportunity once again, REA and the stakeholders, and we are ready to listen to you and answer any question you may ask, and the team will be here today, tomorrow, and until. So whenever, any day, any time, we are ready to work with you. We thank you, and I must thank Meets Dynamic, because he took the risk. He didn't know us, he got to us, we discussed based on advice, and somehow we've been able to work together. Before Meets, I think there was the one you showed at the Chiti, and which other one? I know for sure there were 1 or 2, but he was ready to offer more stake, and government has joined him. So congratulations, and thank you, Kalis, and we are ready to go the full length with anybody that is interested. God bless you all. God bless Gombe State, and God bless the federal government.